Welcome to Middle Fingers Up, the show where we hold our heads high and our middle fingers higher. I'm your host, Kieran McKay. Today, we're joined by Richard Ashman. And just for the record, just so you know, I thought your last name was Ash for the longest time. So I've just been calling you Ash. Yeah, I'm just going to unmute you now. Welcome.
Thank you.
You can be unmuted as I talk. I do my little intro, and if you can add to it as we go. But yeah, so Carrie corrected me last night. He's like, it's actually Ashman. I forgot for a second. So as I was saying, today we're joined by Richard Ashman to discuss men's mental health, particularly his personal journey with it. And as many of us are aware, you know, we talk about this on the show, we talk about this in social media, we talk about this in our homes. Both men, women, all individuals may face similar mental health issues, yet discussing these challenges can sometimes differ, particularly for the gender of the males. And I think sometimes it's the societal pressures of masculinity and associated stigmas that hinder men from often seeking help. And I think there's a lot of men out there that would agree that things have to get really, 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 really bad to the point that life is being sucked out of you to maybe think there's a problem or you may need help. And I think that's what Rich agreed to come on and talk about today, is that when there's a lack of open conversation, conditions can worsen, right?
100%.
Yeah. And your story kind of illustrates that. And maybe not even kind of, it illustrates that, right?
Yeah, I think for definite we'll get to that, but yeah.
Yeah, right?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I just want to give a huge shout out to Carrie, because Carrie knows your story. Actually, you encouraged and inspired Carrie and I to invite our chiropractor guest that was
That's
on.
Right, yeah.
Dr.
Ryan.
Dr. Ryan, thank you. And so it's kind of cool that you're here yourself today to sort of talk about your story. And so Carrie was really inspired by it. And I think the fact that you openly shared it with him was really encouraging, because he came to me recently and it's been on his mind. I think I've talked about this a while ago.
It was a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, right. And he's like, I really think this could be helpful. So I was really appreciative when anyone reaches out and says, I really think this guest should come on, because I think they have something to offer. So I am very grateful that you are here today.
You're more than welcome. Yep.
Yeah. And maybe for those listening, we can I was thinking, okay, so as Rich and I are going to talk about men's mental health and his journey and some of the experiences, stereotypes that men may go through, I encourage everyone else that's listening today, you know, as we explore Rich's journey and the challenges men face, as I'm saying, maybe think about what are some common misconceptions or stereotypes about men and mental health that we all as individuals are contributing to, and contributing to that silence that continues to happen. I think we all play a role, and it would be really beneficial to start with, okay, what can I do different? Some of us are raising boys in our house. Some of us are boys. Some of us identify as boys. Some of us work with men. Boys and men are all around us, right? So I think it's definitely worth thinking about those things. So thank you again for being here today.
No problem.
And let's maybe just kind of go through a few stats as reminders. This isn't, I was saying to you earlier, you know, this isn't one of those wish list kind of talks. This is a reality talk. And many of us know, and looking at Canadian stats, around 10% of Canadian men experience significant mental health challenges in their life. And approximately 1 million Canadian men suffer from major depression annually. And on average, 4,000 is about approximately, and we always say approximately because not everybody reports suicides. So approximately 4,000 Canadians have taken their own life, and 75% of those are men. Mm-hmm. And these are Canadian stats, but when we look at them across, you know, Europe, across the continents, across North America, the numbers are very similar. Even from my experience working with young boys, teenagers, we would get more females coming to talk about their life, their problems, things that brought them to the hospital with their mental health disruption. Then we had males. And so it's like ongoing, right? It's just continuing with the generations. And you're raising a boy. I got a couple of them.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely worth our while to talk about these things. So what do these numbers mean to you? Like, is this news to you? What would you add?
It's not news, no.
Hey?
It's a common thing, isn't it? It's a common thread. And I think historically it's said, men are, like you say, it's weak for a man to stand up and say, I've got a problem. It's weak for a man to cry. You know, Kerry and I were talking about this the other day, and it goes back to, especially from, coming from England, it was always you've got to have that stiff upper lip.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
You carry on.
Yeah.
There's people up far, worse off than you.
Yes.
You're okay. Just keep going.
Yeah.
And that, my family's like that,
Yeah.
So I've been sort of raised that way. It's
right.
You suck it up and you get on with it.
That's right.
Whereas I think you need, there has to be there is a breaking point, I think, for everybody.
Yeah.
And at some point you've got to.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that breaking point comes and that, like our threshold, like how much we can take gets to this, like it's such this far line in the sand. It's not close to where we are. And do you think it gets pushed so back because of what you're saying about being raised to think somebody else has it worse than you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you think you're being compassionate thinking about that, but I don't know, like, do you feel like that's being compassionate when you're like, that guy has it worse than I do, I'm okay, meanwhile?
Yeah, and it's the thing, different things affect different people in different ways.
Yeah.
So it could be a small thing that affects, someone else, where it could be 10 small things that gets me to my breaking point.
Yeah.
And I think that as people, we've all got to recognize, which is way easier said than done.
Yeah.
But we've all got to recognize where that point is and A, ideally not get to that point.
Yes.
But B, if you do have the stuff in place that you're able to deal with it and to cope with it and to, whether resources, whether that's talking to someone or doing something or, yoga or whatever it is that you do to get to that point.
No, and I like what you say there, that everyone has their own line and you may have 10 of these things over here, and those 10 things might not mean a whole lot to your buddy over there.
Exactly.
You and Carrie get together for lunch and talk workshop stuff.
Yep.
You can sit there and compare your problems, and I don't know, like, where does that get you? Or, hey man, what is the dialogue like when you guys, now I'm gossiping about my husband,
That's fine.
but what is the dialogue?
I'm not
you
sharing
guys
secrets.
get together, what is it, like every few weeks for lunch?
Every month maybe kind of thing,
and you work in the same field.
Yep. It's, what, we're pretty open. Like it's different personalities as well, isn't it? It's different.
Yeah.
So we're both pretty open people. Like we can talk about stuff.
Yeah.
Which I'm thankful for.
Yeah. Was it always like that for you though?
Yeah. I think I've always been pretty open.
Yeah.
And pretty able to, if I've got an issue, I'll say it.
Yeah.
And if I feel that someone else has got an issue, I'm going to want to ask them.
Yeah.
And I think Kerry and I are fairly similar in that respect, that we can say, what, it's everything okay?
Yeah.
Like, are you good? Like I remember going through, through COVID, and you didn't see your friends a lot, you didn't see people a lot.
Yes.
But there's a nucleus of friends that I have locally and in Europe. And every week I'd reach out. Yeah. Maybe not to the person that I would always do. I might not speak to that guy for a month. Yeah. But we were very conscious, all of us, we were saying, everything good?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
What's going on? This thing sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What the hell is happening to the world? So we were very open with that. And I think that helped. So that nucleus of people. So we were just calling, but just checking in, just seeing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Everything good. Oh yeah, same old shit.
Yeah.
Dealing with, still got COVID's still here.
Yeah.
Still can't do this, still can't do that.
Right.
So we were having those active conversations.
That? That's a really cool thing. I think, first of all, that's like high fives to that. Having a little community, calling each other and checking in, and it doesn't matter where you live. And COVID taught us that too. Technology is great for us if we're not. So it was connecting us on so many different levels, work, personal. And so when you guys reach out to each other that way, was it a space where you felt you guys could say, honestly, I'm not actually good? Or was it, again, that mentality of everybody has it bad and I'm fine. Like what kind of themes were you guys, without obviously talking about your confidential stuff, but what were the themes?
So that's a fair comment, because I never thought that. Maybe everyone was just saying we're okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way, honestly, until you just said that.
Huh.
Because ordinarily, how's it go? Yeah, I'm fine. It's all good. Yeah. It sucks. I hate it. Don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I'm fine. So it's funny because of all the people that I spoke to, thinking now you just said that to me. No one once said, no, I'm suffering.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and I remember talking to people about after sort of COVID finished, if it has finished.
Yeah.
And I've said to Kara, I said to a bunch of people, I said, you know what, I think that really messed me up. Like, I think that whole process, because I'm very pragmatic, I'm very, you know, I think about things probably too much. And I think I couldn't understand it. Therefore, I think it really got to me. So I've said it so many times, like I say to lots of people, that I think that COVID really messed with me mentally. I think that might have been like almost
that threshold, that pushing you.
Number one of the 10 stage or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe that was when I, you know, retrace, maybe that was the initial catalyst.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I really had a tough time with the process because I didn't understand it.
Like, can I ask you what in particular that
it didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense to me that we were, you know, we've been living for 48 years on this planet one way.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're told that we can't do that.
Yeah.
And there's drones flying around, people in Italy walking over a bridge saying, where are you going?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get my medicine from the, like, just.
Yeah. How extreme you went.
Surreal.
Yeah.
Like, it's like it was a movie.
Yes.
And that's
a Philip K. Dick novel or
seriously.
something.
I remember that one scene that this guy's walking across a bridge in Italy and a drone comes over and starts talking to him. I'm like, this is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Like, it's blowing my mind. You know, all my family's in England, so you know you're struggling with that, and and I need to go back and see my dad's not doing well, so I need to go back, and I can't get on a plane because I'm not allowed to get on a plane. So
many barriers that you may be used to knocking down on a day-to-day. I can't get on this flight. I can figure out a different flight. Like, we have so many resources. And I think that's the other thing we learned, that we do have a lot of resources available to us. We don't access them or utilize them. But yeah, like, I think that's very interesting when all that distraction gets sort of taken away. And that's what happened in COVID. Yep. You arrive at this place of, wait a minute, this isn't, I'm not actually doing okay.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So going back to, I think, maybe everyone I asked was okay, but maybe they weren't.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and I think
maybe
that's
not
just
asking the right questions.
Yeah. I think sometimes that's what happens though, is we mean well, we check in with each other, and sometimes we need to check in a little harder.
That's exactly it. That's what I'm thinking now.
Right. Well, and because, you know, like, I asked you before we started, because I was talking to Carrie, I'm like, is this stereotypical if I ask Rich, did you watch Ted Lasso? And Carrie and I start laughing because I've been trying to actually put together a Ted Lasso episode.
Oh, I love it.
And well, I think we're doing it today because when I started prepping after you and I talked, and I hung up, and then I'm like, oh, I think Rich, because I didn't know how to have a Ted Lasso conversation. Yep. And Carrie and I want to rewatch it with the boys as a talking point and teaching point. And so I thought, well, maybe that's you being from, you know, England over there, and you love your football, or I assume you do.
Absolutely.
You know, I'd ask you this, but that was the thing about Ted Lasso is, for me, was when we look at these stats, we can often tell when someone is really not doing well, because it's so clear when they stop calling you, especially if you're in a routine, stop seeing you, someone else reaches out and says, have you heard from this? You know, I think we may have all experienced either we're that person or a friend that we are worried about. And we're like, where are you? What's going on? Something's obviously up. And those times we can figure it out, maybe get in, hopefully try to help. But what helped me so much, and I thought, oh, I hope people see this, is Ted, the character, was exactly the friend that you would call up during COVID and probably would say, oh yeah, we're good. I'm good.
Yeah.
But how are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Oh, I'm good too. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. We got this. Ha ha ha. Masks, whatever.
Check
right?
in next week.
Yeah. And because there are so many men out there like that character in which everything looks like they're doing really well. And then all of a sudden, we don't know what happened when we're at their funeral and they took their life, or, you know, they tried to, or they come out and say, I'm not well. And you're like, what? You got the best life out there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I don't know, like, what stood out for you with the show? Let's do it. Let's talk about Ted.
I mean, that's, again, the football things for me, because football is my absolute passion.
Okay, like, so what's your favorite team?
Aston Villa.
I don't know what that means.
They're in Birmingham.
I only know what did Beckham play for?
He played for Manchester United.
Do you like him?
I don't mind him. It's funny. I just watched the.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
I just watched the last one last night.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's it's more than you'd think. Actually, it was quite. It's more. He was stuff. I learned a lot of stuff about him, mental health wise as well. Actually, very much stuff that I wouldn't expect. Again, the perfect life, the perfect wife, the perfect children, the perfect car. The whole thing. But he struggled a lot with managers and with certain stuff. It's an interesting watch, actually.
Is it?
It really is.
Yeah. I've been told by a couple people, so maybe we'll get there.
It's an interesting watch, yeah.
He's just like too overwhelmingly beautiful for me to watch on screen, so I have to I can't do this.
He's a good looking boy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I get too no, I can't. This is not right. But that's an all serious talk. Okay, so with that, and then I was gonna, as I got you distracted, I was going, no, don't be sorry. It's me. I do this. Back to Ted though, for you, because you said you're a big football fan. That's where we started.
Yeah, my biggest thing with initially was that the mental health sort of things. Yeah. That conversation came after, but for me, it was all about the football. At first, it was like you can't have an American coming to, because I'm such a purist when it comes to football.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this program's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
It's going to be awful. It's not going to replicate what. And it's one of the best shows I've seen. It's so good. And the characters, you recognize the characters straight away, and it's.
Oh, so
I know who they're based.
I wouldn't know this. Yeah,
as soon as you see the one guy, that's Zlatan Ibrahimovic. That's Jack Grealish. Like they're all
right.
It's
so there is
incredible.
a Tart, the guy that
Jack Grealish.
Yeah. So that's the same Jamie Tart.
Jamie Tart. Yeah. That's him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just enjoyed that, and then the rest of it sort of came later. Like, just getting to the episodes, like, you know what, this is far more than a football parody or whatever you want to call it. This is way deeper and so intelligent.
Yeah.
To be able to bring me in on a football level, but still have that, to bring someone that no offense, but you don't follow football.
That's not my world. I don't know football.
But it still brings you into that exact same thing. Yeah.
I know. I feel like
it's a great show.
Brilliantly done, as you would use that word, right? Brilliant. Was that done well? Can you say brilliantly? Is that a word, or is it just brilliant?
You can say brilliant.
Yeah.
That's good.
Brilliantness. Is that a word?
No. I don't believe so.
Brillianting?
No.
I'm going to start brillianting now.
Well, you could, yeah.
Yeah, right? Let's make up word.
Why not?
You're 100%. There's so many of us that would not be connected to the core, which, like you said, football would draw you. Yeah. And it's a show about your community. And that's always nice when we can relate to those things. We're like, finally, someone gets me.
Yeah.
And then you're right. They draw you in. They suck you in. And some of those themes that we never talk about, they talked about consent. In that second or the last season, I don't remember how many seasons the last season, just about so simple. You meet people on Tinder and Bumble and whatever, all these WASP sites, right? And you have each other's pictures and you send each other pictures, and just so interesting in how they talked about when you're not seeing that person anymore. We are all obligated to delete that. We shouldn't be passing someone else's confidential information. And for young guys to have that kind of a conversation and talking about consent and what's okay and what's not, I thought, this is exactly what like a health class should put together for kids for sex talk.
Absolutely.
The way they were having these moments of even jealousy and the one of the characters is gay and he doesn't know. How many times do we hear that in the sports world?
It covered everything. And the evolution, like if you look at the evolution of Jamie Tart, and I can't remember he's based on a guy called Roy Keane, but I can't remember the guy.
Roy.
It is Roy, but like their evolution from being where they were at to always actually having a conversation,
about a woman too.
Exactly.
How, right? When women can be like property and all these kinds of things that some men don't ever learn about, and some understand and grow and get educated that this is a human being. It was really cool to see that part of them come out, and yet we're still men. We're better men.
Yeah.
Because now we can play better.
Exactly.
And our relation, so I thought, okay.
It's a great evolution. I thought those two characters.
That was I think the hope too, because Ted was off of a character, like a skit or something, I think, right? With
I'm not sure.
And he was almost like a Ned Flanders-y, but they decided to kind of change him and go a different, he evolved as well. So I thought that the character himself evolved. That's so cool too, right? So so let's do our middle fingers up segment. And so shall we?
Yep.
Or unless do you want to add anything else about Ted?
No. I think we're good.
Somebody called it online a tale for modern day men.
Yeah.
I thought, ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's a great show.
I agree. What do you want to put your middle fingers up to?
I'm going to continue a theme.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to continue the football theme.
Oh, okay.
Because it's something that obviously I'm very passionate about.
Okay. Is football season on right now?
Yes.
Okay.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Just started.
Okay.
So it's the VAR.
VAR?
Yeah. Okay. Which is the virtual assistant referee.
Oh.
So again, I'm a purist with this whole football thing. And they brought in this VAR for the last few seasons where they could stop the game and go look at the TV. The guys in the referee's ear, no, you made the wrong decision. Yes, you made the right decision. They're drawing lines on the pitch and they're just showing all these things. And it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I could talk about this for an hour.
Yeah, okay.
It drives me crazy. So you score a goal, 70,000 people in the stadium, 60 of them go wild.
Yeah.
You carry on. 45 seconds later, the referee gets a little word in his earpiece, stops, goes to the TV, comes back, no goal.
Oh.
Or stops, comes back and goes goal.
Right.
But it'll spend 5 minutes at the screen talking about it while you're all sitting in the stadium.
Yeah.
And football's about just keep going, you carry on, you make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. And I listen to a lot of football podcasts, I watch a lot of football on TV, and the whole conversation now is not about the football, it's all about this VR.
So it's not like what's happening in real time, it's about that.
They messed up last week. They just did one that they've proven that was wrong.
Yeah.
So they said it wasn't a goal. They brought it back. They said it wasn't a goal. The next day, the VAR guy in the box, wherever he is, said, yeah, we made a mistake.
So did they take it away from them, the goal?
They lost the game.
The next day they lost the game?
No, they lost the game that day.
Oh, they did. Oh, and they said they should have won, essentially.
And they should have won.
Now they can't do anything about it.
They can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Well, this is
So this is new because like in hockey, it's like take it upstairs and go to Toronto. So
we've always managed to stay away from it, which is I love, NFL's the same. And, and we've always stayed away from it. But the last few years, I've slowly started to bring this thing in. And it, like I say, I angry now just thinking about it.
Oh my God, VAR.
Fuck VAR.
Yeah, middle fingers up to that.
2 middle fingers up to VAR.
2? Holy shit. Wow, that's a lot.
So
that's crazy. Do you is that like there must be more purists out there that must be a Facebook group or something.
I haven't looked into that.
A following. There must be more people like you that are saying, what the hell?
Fuck VAR group.
You should. Totally. Maybe you need to start your own podcast.
There you go, maybe.
Yeah, a fuck VAR podcast.
I'm sure there's one out there.
Oh, probably. You should go on it.
You know what? I'm going to look now. Now you've said this.
Now you should look it up. Yeah.
Delve deep into this.
You should. And I'd like a follow-up, please. I'd like to know.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fantastic if you could either do your own thing or get on one.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea.
Like, why are they doing that? But that's the thing. That's like, if we bring that over to life, over here in the world and how we humans are, that in so many ways is what we struggle with as times change. Yep. When we're so used to this ritual or this custom or this experience and even religion, all these kinds of things that we all think, oh yeah, this is how it is. Raising kids, how our parents raise kids versus us, how our kids may raise kids, right? But we all, I think every generation we go through this thing where we're like, that interrupts with all of what I grew up with, with all of I believe in, with all that I know, and it's interesting because it's like technology is taking over, and But
I think if it's beneficial, great, I'm all for it.
Right.
But it's not. There's so many mistakes.
How many people say it is? Some people must think it's beneficial.
Honestly, right now, I don't know of anybody. Yeah. I watch the pundits after the games and stuff, and they're talking about it, and they're like, we've got to get away from this. This is not working.
Because are they making more mistakes than not?
Way more.
Yeah.
So it's just, if it's beneficial, great. Yeah. But it's not. So
that's bullshit then. Yeah.
Fuck VAR.
Fuck VAR.
That's the buzzword of
That's going to be the quote of this whole episode.
Exactly.
It's a mental health conversation. And we did everything but that.
Exactly.
Why did they even let you and I be in a room together?
Probably wasn't a good idea.
This is what happens anytime we meet at a function or get together, right? And I think it all has to do with the fact that we're Geminis.
Yes, that's true.
Right? Our birthdays are like just a couple of days apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So like what are some Gemini stereotypes? Don't you feel like we pop up a lot in rap songs? It's always like there's always a lyric about Geminis.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. I'm not a big
You're not a horoscope person.
Big horoscope person.
I'm not either, but I am because Geminis are the best one.
I'm a true Gemini like that.
Yeah. No, a true Gemini would say a narcissist thing. Like, all the other horoscopes are dumb.
Yeah,
Gemini's the best. That's the only one that I follow. I don't, and someone's like Virgo, and I'm like, no clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
There you go.
Yeah. Cancer, don't know, don't want it, don't care. Gemini, let's talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because we're cool. We're twins. There's two of us.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Fire and ice.
Yeah.
Right?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So there you go. Well, here we are. Okay, so I guess I can put my middle fingers up too, hey? I am going to put my middle fingers up to impatience. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
And it's just a reminder to myself, and maybe if other people want to take it, they can, but it is okay if it's taking more time than we thought. And I just like feel like Carrie and I sometimes are struggling with parenting. Mm-hmm. It's just like this urgency always of just do it, get it.
Yeah.
And it's just reminding ourselves and myself constantly that these kids are just figuring everything is first time.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree, yeah.
You know, and so it's like, it's not going to be right the first time, or even personal growth, just things that you think that you're doing really well at, and then you have a really bad, it's like, you eat healthy and then you just eat shitty one day, or you swear you're not going to fight with your siblings and then you call them up and fight with them, right? Yeah. It's like things like that. You're like, oh, why? And so I feel like I need a reminder, and maybe others do too. So sometimes it takes a little longer.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with patience?
With
longest inhale there.
With patience. I think as you get older, same thing, like, me and my wife talk about it as well, same with whether it's with us or with the kids. I'm like, it's okay to, we don't have to be there at this time. We don't have to do it. Like, we're very, scheduled and very planned on,
yes,
especially with work and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, you've got to do that. I'm like, we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, we were in England, I think it was the time before last, I think, and we normally go with plan. So it's usually a fairly short trip, 2 or 3 weeks, a lot of family. So it's a holiday, but it doesn't always feel like a holiday, because
when you're visiting family,
looking after parents and trying to do stuff. Mm-hmm. And the one time I said, we're going to go back, and we're not going to plan anything. We're not going to plan to go here. We're not going to plan to go there. We're just going to go and be, and we're just going to. So we were sitting there at my parents' house, 11 o'clock in the morning, 10:30. My wife's like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" I said, "We're doing it." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "We're doing it, but we're not doing anything." Exactly.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And if we want to go for a walk in a bit, we'll go for a walk.
Yeah.
And if we want to go to the pub and have lunch, we'll go to the pub and have lunch.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll just...
Yeah.
So, but it took her, I think, a bit longer than me, but it took us a while to get into that mindset. This is what we're doing for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But we never do that.
Right.
Great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's just go and do it. Let's just do nothing.
Did she like it?
I don't know if,
she's very come on and tell us.
You'll have to ask her that.
Yeah.
I think she did. Yeah.
What about for you? Because you also don't do that often.
I did. I was good with it.
Yeah.
I was good.
Yeah.
Like, we went to Vancouver, just me and her.
Yeah.
And just for a few days, and it was great. We didn't do the same thing. Yeah. No plans. Just walk around.
Right. Just be in the
when
moment.
You want to stop. Go rent a bike and ride around Stanley Park.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
No agenda.
Right.
No need to do anything. It was really good.
I think that's like what vacation's meant for, is a break from your real life. Yeah. And if you're so used to planning and organizing and living in the way that most people do, that business Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 kind of world, it's so hard. So many people, I hear them talk, and I remember I experienced this too. It's like first few days on vacation, you're just trying to like let go little by little, let go little by little, right? And then eventually it's like, oh yeah, this is what it's like to just.
It's hard to switch.
Like you said, we're doing it.
You can't just switch off, can you?
No.
It's hard to go from 100 miles an hour to zero. There has to be a bit of a
only sociopaths
transition.
can do that.
Yeah.
Anyone that's like, oh, I can do that. I'm like,
okay.
We should,
separate from
Remind me not to drive in a car with you.
Let's separate from this one.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, okay. Well, that's nice to do. I'm a big fan of that with vacation, and, go to Europe, let's say. That's something you save up for, you want to plan for. We told ourselves, okay, 2 big attractions that we feel we must go see.
Yeah.
Everything else is let's just walk through those.
Wander around,
those beautiful alleys or walkways and building ways or
and
roads.
You stumble into so many things that you would never ordinarily find.
Yeah. And then you're just like not because there's no distraction of where are we going, what are we doing, I just feel like we're talking, we're having a good time, we're enjoying our time. We're not like, oh, we got to get to that church thing or that movie thing or exhibit or whatever, right?
Okay, you got 45 minutes at the Louvre, you got to get out.
Yeah.
You got to get to the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
We got to go.
Yeah. Oh my God, the Louvre. When Carrie and I went to Paris, bit of southern France right before we got pregnant. Actually, I did a pregnancy test at the Calgary airport because I had a feeling, but it said I wasn't pregnant. So we're like, yeah, we can enjoy this trip. But it turns out during the trip, I actually was. I learned when I got back. Okay. But I got so sick at the Louvre because it was those tired pregnancy feelings. I don't know if you remember from when you guys were having kids. You're like, I was so tired.
My back was killing me.
Yeah. Fuck you. Yeah, and I remember in the Louvre, like literally, Carrie's like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you being so lazy?" I was like, "I know. All I can do is sit here. Let's just stare at this painting for 6 hours. I can't do this." So we have to go back because I don't really feel like I got the full experience. But that's Paris. Okay, all right. So I'm going to ask you. I don't even know your story.
Nope. So
I have no clue where we're going with this, and I'm very looking forward to this conversation. I have a really good vibe about this. But before we get there, can we just sort of talk a little bit about what was sort of like life like for you leading up to the big incident? I don't know, what do you want to call it? What do you want to call the big moment?
Life-changing event.
Life-changing event.
For sure. Again, as I thought, life was normal. Life was the same. Yeah. It was work, it was kids, it was normal.
But was it good? Were you like, did you feel, like back to that Ted Lasso piece, right? Yeah. Like did you feel like if you were to compare to even him in that way, well, again, were you good?
I think it's that whole just pushing everything back, holding everything down. So like I said, I'd like to tell the story and then I'll trace it back for you. Yeah. Because that's easier, I think, for me. Because if I hadn't done that, or if I hadn't had the incident, I would never be tracing it back. Yeah. And not knowing, I wouldn't be having those feelings to get to the incident, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
So, so I'll tell you exactly what happened. So, normal weekend at home, kids, making breakfast, wife's there, we're in the kitchen. And I get, every now and again, I get migraines. And it's usually stress, or with me not eating, I have to eat. Okay? So, and it's simple. I get it, and I get flashing lights. I see it straight away. If I can catch it just before, I take a couple of Advil, gone, no problem. So I'm like, I didn't catch it. So I starts flashing. And then all I have to do then is take a pill, lie down, we'll sit down for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and it passes. Yeah. Bit of a headache, nothing major. So I'm in the kitchen, I'm like, Jack, can you grab me an Advil? Well, yeah, migraine. Okay, so I sit down, and she gets me these pills that she has migraines occasionally. She gets these pills from the States. Mm-hmm. You can't get them here. She loves them, swears by them. She'd take these because they work really quick. Mm-hmm. So I took them, and I was sitting there for a bit, and I'm like, I don't feel right. Mm-hmm. So what do you mean? I said, this isn't normal. So what did you give me? Because I'm thinking it's the pills. Yeah. It's got to be the pills. It's not me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Why would it be me?
Yeah,
no, it's the pills. I haven't taken one of those pills since, by the way.
Oh, it is the pills.
So I'm like,
spoiler alert.
Yeah. So what's going on? So we've got like a reclining seat in the living room. So I'm lying back on there, and Oliver's lying on me. And I'm like, close my eyes. And I'm like, this is getting weird. Mm. Like I'm feeling almost like an out of body experience. It's going to sound weird, but almost like an out of body. Yeah. I said, Jack, I got to go and lie down upstairs. I can't be here. I can't. So I went upstairs, lay down, and I'm shaking. She comes up and she's like, "You okay?" I said, "No, I'm not. I don't know what's going on. What did you give me?"
Yeah. Seriously.
You're trying to cash in the insurance. Like, what's going on?
Doesn't she work for insurance?
Exactly. Something's not right. So I'm lying there, and it's just getting progressively worse. And she thinks I'm having a stroke.
Oh my God. So that's what okay.
She thought I was having a stroke. And it's such a strange thing because she's asking me all the stuff, and she's going through all the stroke stuff. Yeah. And I can hear my answers. I can hear my answers to her, and I'm answering everything exactly right. No, I don't have this, no slurred speech. No. But I wasn't there. It was like someone else was saying it through my body. I know this sounds strange, but
no, please going.
So I'm like, I'm not a big fan of doctors. I'm not a big fan of hospitals. Again, old school.
Because you're okay. You're
old
fine.
School white.
You're perfect.
English male. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, classic. So I said, we got to go to the hospital. I'm dying. I feel like I'm dying. She's like, what? I said, I don't know what it is. And my heart rate's going through the roof.
Wow.
We didn't check my blood pressure, but
you could, yeah.
No need.
Yeah.
So it's, call the grandparents. We didn't have time for them to even get to our house.
Yeah.
I said, we got to go now.
Yeah.
So we drove straight to Cochrane, which is closest for us.
What were you thinking when you were like, we got to go now? Like,
I thought I was dying.
You thought you were going to die?
I honestly thought I was.
Like, did you think you were having a heart attack?
Maybe a heart attack
or stroke.
But again, the whole stroke thing was so strange, like I say, because I heard myself talking.
Yeah.
But it was like someone else was saying it.
Yeah.
It was so surreal. So we get in the car with the kids because we didn't have time. I said, there's no time. I got to go now.
Yeah.
She's like, what, do you want an ambulance? No, I don't. Just drive me. It's quicker.
Right.
Just drive.
I'm going to die, but not going to die. Like what? Like why deny the ambulance?
Because that's just, I don't know.
Right?
Exactly.
I'm not that bad. It's like so hard to be okay with saying.
But then you think as well, I think especially these days, it's like, it's probably quicker to drive anyway.
Yeah. And it's also like $7,000 to pay.
That did happen actually afterwards. But anyway.
Oh.
So we drive there and I'm just freaking. I'm freaking and my kids are in the back. So I'm trying, and I'm still conscious of that. So I'm really, Sophie's obviously, she's 11, she knows and she's looking. And I'm like, Soph, I'm fine, mate. Again, I'm fine. Don't you worry about me. That's fine. I'm fine. We just got to get this dealt with. I'm fine.
Does Jacqueline think you're having a heart attack too?
She had no clue. Her husband's just told her that he's dying.
Like she could, from what she was observing, she's like, my husband's going to die right now.
She's probably freaking. Okay. Yeah. So get it. And I think I was in a wheelchair when I got there.
Oh, you couldn't even walk, hey?
And, I'm very conscious of things around me and people around me and, don't want to upset someone. And, I didn't give a fuck in the hospital. I'm like, see me now. Yeah. I'm just vibrating. There's someone in front. Oh, you go first. I'm like,
I'm going to die. I got kids, man.
Out my way, you know. They do the blood pressure. It's stupid. They do all these things. They're off the charts. So I go in the back eventually and the doctor comes and he's like, so what's going on? I said, I don't know. Tell him the story. Okay. Starts doing some tests. They do a bunch of stuff. Talks for a bit. And then he says, do you have anxiety? Or I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
I'm good. Okay. Let's go through a few things, do a few tests. He goes, we need to do an emergency CT scan on your brain. I'm like, for what? He said, we just got to rule out some stuff. So now I'm freaking.
For sure. Fair.
So we wait for a bit and then they go, okay, you need to go to Foothills now because we can't do it here.
Oh, yeah.
So go to Foothills. And he goes, would you like an ambulance or can your wife drive you? I said, wife can drive me, yeah. He goes, yeah, it's going to be quicker than an ambulance anyway.
Oh, wow.
Going back to that whole thing.
Yeah. So you're like, yep.
Yeah, okay. So we get there and I'm there for 6, 7, whatever it is, And I'm starting to feel a bit better.
Yeah, okay.
So even on the way there, I'm talking to Jack and, she's crying at this point now because it's coming out, and I'm like, you know what? The insurance is in place. That's
what you're thinking or what you're saying to her?
Yeah. That's what I said, yeah.
That's what you said to her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry. Everything's good, fine. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
And again, I'm trying to be for her and not for me. Like life insurance in place.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. It's okay.
So, are you two thinking at this moment that these are your last words to each other? Like, do you think this is a possibility that
I never thought about that, no.
Do you, really? I wonder if she did.
Yeah, I don't know.
But you're so caught up in the moment of what's happening. You're not thinking this could be the last time we talk, I guess.
And then I said to her, I said, okay, I'm good now. I said, I'm on, because I go from that, my fight mode's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, right, now I'm focused on, okay, I've been there. I'm still alive. Now I'm focusing on, okay, what needs to be done? Mm-hmm. Let's get there. Let's get this figured out.
Mm-hmm.
If something happens this way, it's that. If not, perfect. Let's carry on.
Yeah.
So I'm in that zone.
Yeah.
Which...
You're just prepared for what we got to do.
Let's go deal with it.
Yeah.
Let's hit there. So
what else can you do in that moment?
Exactly. What do you do?
Yeah.
So we get there, we do the whole waiting forever and blah, blah, blah. They do an image CT scan, come back, and it's just chaos, at the hospital. I'm standing up while they're talking to you. People are coming into the waiting room, giving people prognosis and stuff in front of everybody.
Is this during COVID?
No,
just after?
This is after,
yeah.
So this is about a year ago.
Okay.
So then the doctor comes back and he goes, yeah, everything's fine. he gets me to do a bunch of things, and yeah, everything's good, no problem. Do you suffer from anxiety? I said, you're not the first person to tell me that today. And I'm starting to feel better then. I'm starting to feel, it's been 10, 12, 14 hours, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he goes, but one thing did show up on you. It's okay. So they found a tumor on my brain, which they would have found.
Wow.
So that popped up. So I'm like, I come out and Jack's in the waiting room. She goes, everything okay? I said, yeah, nothing. There's no issues. There's no that. But I got a brain tumor.
Oh my God, Rich.
She's like, what? I said, yeah, they think it's benign. So it's all good.
It is benign.
Yeah.
Okay.
They think it is, but we've got to go now. Now I've got to go through the process of MRIs and all this stuff to determine and seeing brain specialists and stuff.
Right.
So that happened, felt better.
Mm-hmm.
I go to, my doctor's retired. So I said, they said, you need to check in with your doctor. So I went to see another doctor. And she said, so what happened? To tell the story. What do you think it is? I said, panic attack, anxiety. Based on this, I'm thinking, yeah, really? Yeah. She said, why do you think that? So I explained. And I said to her, well, and I'm also a typical white, English, stubborn, stiff upper lip male. And she laughed. She said, I'm glad you said that. Because I was thinking it. She said, well, I don't really know you, so I didn't want to say anything. So, So that was that. So
anytime a white man admits something like that, we all say, I'm so glad you said that.
So that's what, and then she actually prescribed me some pills. She said, this will just take and I took and it did. It really helped. Just leveled me out and just, calm. Yeah. And that's basically, there's a bunch of things, like I said, there's a bunch of things to get to it, but that's basically...
That's the event.
That's the incident. Yeah. The life-changing event.
So can I ask you, first of all, I want to say thank you for really quickly responding, willing to be like, yeah, let's do this. This was a quick put together conversation. Yeah. So I appreciate that. And hearing your story and listening to you, I'm like, okay, so what do you think what is a difference from hearing, do you have anxiety the first time the doctor said that and you were like, no, to then the second time the doctor asking and you're like, oh, and then you yourself presenting to the doctor and saying, this is what it is.
What else could it be at that point? What else could it be? Everything else has been checked out and it's fine. So, physically it's fine. Yeah. Apart from the secondary thing that they found.
Yes.
So what else could it be? And then you get to thinking about, okay, well, where was I at? What was I doing? And they said that to me at the time. Nothing. Everything was chilled. Everything was fine. But then I go back to, okay, so where did it come from? Yeah. So then I sort of come back to the COVID thing, the mental issue that my daughter was going through some rough stuff at school with, bullying and stuff. And we got her some counseling, which has helped great. She's amazing, doing really well. She's still, she's still dealing with stuff. But, and that whole thing was really frustrating me. I remember the build up for that for months. Like I was angry because it's my little girl and I got to protect her and I'm not able to protect her. Right. I'm emailing the headmaster, the principal.
Headmaster. Here we go. Sorry. Harry Potter's world. Here we go.
Sorry. Emailing the principal, what are you doing? This has got to stop, Yeah. And it's continuing on and that was it was every day she'd come back and every day something. And I was getting so worked up about it. Yeah. And Jacqueline was stressed out with that obviously as well, and stressed out with work. Yeah. And then I go and see a strength and fitness coach. Yeah. A couple of times a week. Great guy, love him. And it's more than just that. We have a very open dialogue about everything. Right. We talk about stuff. So it's more of a therapy session rolled into a fitness session.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's amazing.
It is.
It's such a good guy. Yeah. So we're talking as we do every week, and he said, so what's going on with you? I hadn't said anything.
So this is after the incident that happened?
This is before. Oh, so that's what I'm saying. I'm tracing back. This is before.
This is before, okay.
This is before. So I said, oh, no, all good, mate. All good.
I'm good. Yeah, there's a word. We should have a shot for every time, right? We hear that.
It's good. He goes, so what's going on? And he knows Sophie because he's trained her and he's known her since she was a baby. Yeah. So he loves her. So he's asking, I said, yeah, Sophie's going through this stuff. And I tell him the stories and I tell him that. I said, in Jacqueline. And he said, so what are you doing? I said, helping them get through what they need to get through. Mm. Well, who's helping you? Mm. I said, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I don't need it. Yeah. Well, you might want to, and he's very, maybe you want to take a step back and do something for you. And, so I think there's all these little things that built up. So that, that was a big part of it, I think. And then when I came out, obviously when I finished the doctors and stuff, I went back training and stuff. And I was getting these dizzy spells and couldn't get my heart rate down to a point where we were doing something. And he's like, I said, mate, my heart rate's not coming down at all. And he'd be sitting next to me for 15 minutes. Yeah, no, and it was like off the charts to a point one time where there's a chiro within the building as well. So she had a client who happened to be a nurse, and they called her in and were checking me out. And she's like, you need to go to hospital.
Wow.
I said, I'm not going to hospital. I've done that.
Right, because I'm fine, because I'm good.
I've done that. I'm good.
Yeah.
And I think it was all the anxiety maybe to see what's going on with the other stuff.
Yeah.
So a couple of incidents like that. And since then, touch wood, it's been pretty good. So what I'm generally finding is if I, something feels like it's starting to get overwhelming or whatever, it's usually give my head a shake, talk to myself, breathe, and it sort of levels out.
Yeah.
So it's still there, obviously.
Yeah.
It's not going away, is it? And I think it's just how you manage it and how you deal with it.
Yeah.
So I did the MRI, the scan, blah blah blah. They said, yeah, you've got a tumor on your brain. It's probably been there for a while.
Yeah.
Who knows how long? It's not affecting anything right now. You've got 3 options. What do you want to do? We can take it out right now. We can blast it with some stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Or you can leave it, and we'll check it in a year. I said, well, if it's not affecting anything, leave it, and we'll carry on.
Okay.
So
that's where we're going.
That's where we're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Holy. I was thinking about, like, I just have so many questions I want to ask you, but I also am like working on not interrupting. So I just wanted to go back to when you were talking about with you call it your strength and fitness trainer?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you about that in a second, because that's an interesting, is that a personal workout trainer?
Strength and conditioning coach, he calls himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so we'll I think we'll circle back to that, because he sounds like he's like a really helpful person to have in your corner.
Amazing.
And to talk about these things. And maybe we can just, I'm going to wait for a second. But you said something. So you talked about with him, when he was asking you to step back, 2 things stood out for me. One was you're helping everyone else in the world, in your world, in your home, maybe even work, with their stuff. So it's like very interesting, because what comes out to me when we think about toxic masculinity is, and Carrie and I have talked about this too, is I'm learning through Carrie and seeing this, and you're the man, you can tell me if this is right or wrong, but there's this perceived notion that many of you feel you're the fixer.
Yep.
You have been taught, you have been raised, society's put these expectations in place. You guys are the strong one, you fix things, you take care of people, you're the protector. You talked about that with your daughter. So all these things are going on in your world that are pulling from that part of you where you have to take care of people. Yep. And we know when we have to take care of people, often we feel we're putting ourselves on the side, but we don't think about that, right? We think my daughter's the most important thing, my wife is the most important thing, absolutely. My son, my job, all these other things. Yep. I'll be fine when they're fine.
Yep. So
anything, when you come back to that one piece, and I'll get to the other thing in a second, when you come back to that protector place, is there anything that has shifted for you, or anything you see different, or do you feel that has remained regardless of what you've gone through?
Yeah, I think I still feel that way. I still feel like that I want to, like, I'm happiest. This is such a cliche, but I'm happiest when people are happy. Yeah. That's the way, my wife calls me a Labrador. She's like, you just want to please people. You just come in, you just want to make people happy. That's what you want to do.
And bringing them gifts all day long.
Pet me, and I genuinely am happiest when my loved ones and friends are happy. Then I'm good at that point.
Yeah.
But I've definitely changed my perception of, okay, well, I've still got to deal with myself first, because I can't make them happy if I'm not.
So that part shifted for you.
For definite. And it's, whether it's simple stuff, like before, it's work, it's this, that. Well, now it's like, you know what? If I've got, I work for myself, so I'm flexible.
Right.
If I've got some time, I'm going to go hit the golf course.
Yeah.
Stuff that I like to do, relax. Yeah. Or, I get home at 2:00, and instead of going downstairs and doing stuff that doesn't have to get done. Mm-hmm. It can be done tomorrow. It's not you know what? I'm going to there's a football game on, I'm going to go watch that game.
Yeah.
But then my wife will go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because she's working 24/7. What are you doing? I'm watching the game.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not feeling guilty for that.
Yeah.
And that, I think before I'd feel guilty.
Yes.
Because she's doing stuff, I've got to do
stuff. So you got
to
keep up your level.
Yeah. And I'm not, I've really changed my mindset. I'm not doing that anymore. And I've tried to encourage her the same way. Like, take the kid, walk Oliver to school in the morning. We walk together. Mm-hmm. I'm like, when's your next meeting? I got, 40 minutes. Okay, let's go for a walk. Yeah. We'll go for it. I said, I'm good till 10. So I don't need to be there.
Right.
So I'm trying to do just simple stuff and not feel guilty for doing it.
Yeah.
'Cause I think in the past I've always felt guilty for, someone, she's doing that, he's doing that, whoever. You gotta compete.
Totally.
You gotta compete.
Yes.
You gotta be doing. Yeah. We've got to do the same stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't have to.
But we don't. And I think there's times in our lives, and maybe you feel this too, like times in your life where that served you well, where you're like, okay, I'm going to go this extra, the next 6 months, put in those extra hours at the business to get it going. And then, we can do, we take strides where we give a little more or not. However, I hear what you're saying. And I think people after COVID are experiencing sort of what you're saying in the way of, how do I take care of myself in order to take care of other people?
100%.
And we've known airplanes always tell us put our own oxygen masks on first, and that's because so we don't die before the person, Yeah. And it's really hard to bring that back into our day to day because you're right, with the world, everybody, your culture growing up, as you said, in the way that an English white guy grows up, there's a lot of that. You're fine. And I think there's this point in life where we get to where we have to ask ourselves, like, is that still serving me?
Yeah.
So great, I'm taking care of everyone else, but am I going to be here as long as I want to take care of those people?
And that's why I think I've made a huge, like I say, it's small changes, but it's a huge change for me. Huge change.
I think it's a big change, man, because I think sometimes, when you read a book and you're like, this is a really easy read, yet it's just really hard to apply because it's so simple.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a simple thing where you are trying to add more space in your schedule, but that's not an easy thing to do.
I feel way better. Like when I
don't you feel like you have more time now?
Yeah. When I put myself back to, again, we're tracing back. When I put myself back to that year or 2 years or 6 months or whatever it was, I think the culmination was probably 4 or 5 months, but it was probably 18 months, 2 years before that. When I put myself to how I feel now, as opposed to how I feel then, it's night and day. Night and day.
You think that's the biggest reason is that change you've made to create more space in your day to day?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's just a not, like I say, they're not feeling guilty, just whatever you got to do. I'm going to do, there's times when you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And I'm a very competitive person as well, like sporting background, so I like to win. I like to be. Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah. You're going to win the VAR.
I hope so.
The whole VAR process. You're getting that. So
I'm dealing with that.
Looking forward to that. You're a go-getter. You have a goal or whatever it is and motivates you, inspires you. You want to go get it done. And sounds like that's a value in your household because, your wife gets a lot of things done too, has a schedule. Absolutely. You guys strive. You're trying to raise kids. You have expectations of what you want your household to be. Yeah. And again, it's just coming back to who are we doing this for? If it's working for us and we're all thriving, great. However, are we doing it because our neighbors are doing those things? Are we doing it because our friends and family are doing those things? Because I think that's where some of my part 2 of what I wanted to ask you of the 2 things I noticed from your story was, so this protecting piece, and the part 2 was you talked about the things leading up to your life-changing event and described them as everyday things. You talked about some work stressors. You talked about some struggles that your child is experiencing, and maybe that's also part of parenting stuff in there, partner stuff, family things. post-COVID, now is the time people are really, really experiencing the impacts of COVID.
Yeah.
You go on this adrenaline post-COVID for as long as you can. And now that things are kind of back to normal, everyone's like, holy shit, that was overwhelming.
Exactly, I think,
it hits hard.
Small things, yeah.
Yeah,
like
right?
We talked about it before, the 10 stages.
Yeah, yeah.
One might be, it might be one that affects you, it might be 10,
Yeah.
And I think it's small things, but the combination of culminated in X.
But what do you think it would take? Because I think we're sitting here saying, okay, this is small stuff. I don't think, and you experience this too, when you're going through it, sometimes you think this is just work stress. I should have the threshold to deal with this. This is family stress, kid stress, and all that. And then it takes this mentor, this trainer to say to you, what about you? Are you looking after yourself? And you're fine, because these are everyday things that back to Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
He was dealing with a divorce. He was dealing with a big life move, new job.
Life-changing events. Huge.
Life-changing events that you look around and you think, oh, other people can do it. Other people deal with it fine.
Yeah.
And why I should be able to deal with it fine too. It's kind of the motto until now you're paralyzed in your bedroom telling your wife to don't call 911, sorry, to get in the car. It takes too long. You even got fact checked that day too, right?
Day,
You're like, well, I'm always right. This is the problem, right? Like to get to the place of where you think you're going to die. And sometimes it's hard. Like, would you say when you went back and looked at it, were you looking for something bigger to put into context of how could you almost die like that?
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't looking for. I was just, like I say, fairly analytical. So I was just, okay, what is it? What could possibly? What there's nothing major that I can think of. Well, there's nothing major. So it's got to be, small things. And then what were you doing prior to this thing happening? That's what they said to me. What were you doing? I'm like, making breakfast. Well, no, actually, what were you doing? 18 months before this thing happened? Yeah. And that's what I got to. So that's where it came to. Yeah. Those reasons.
Why do you think then? If it was 18 months and lead up, why do you think that day was the straw that broke the camel's back for you?
I don't know. Because there was nothing happening. There was nothing out of the ordinary. It was the pills.
It's a fucking pill. These pills from America. Who knows who made them in America? Were the FDA approved? Although it doesn't matter because all the bad drugs as we watch. I don't know if you watch Painkiller, but holy crap. Okay, so I was going to go back as well and say that you're not sure, why that day. And that's fair. Like things happen when things happen. Do you think there's a possibility that there was a link of maybe disconnect between body and mind for you? Like your mind seemed like there was no particular thing. You were able to make breakfast, do your day to day. But sometimes we miss the piece. I feel like our body takes on just as much as our mind takes on. Yeah. And sometimes it's our body that gives in first. Yeah. Like you're having these physical, massive symptoms.
Physical, like crazy, like the physicality of it was like it was a real thing.
Well, yeah, you and your wife think you're going to die.
Yeah, it was such a real thing, yeah. Yeah. So maybe there is a disconnect, yeah. It was.
I know my own experiences, and I know that as I'm getting older and, getting a little more sore more often, I'm tuned into my body a little more than I was maybe when I was 20, right?
100%.
Right?
And you know what? And we talk about that with Nick. We talk about it all the time. Yeah. Being conscious in the moment when we're working out. He's very intuitive. And it's to a point now where I recognize that, like I blew my ACL. Yeah. And I was booked in for surgery. Didn't want to really have surgery. It was a year wait. So I went to Nick. I'm like, mate, we can't do what we're doing, but what can we do? Yeah. He's like, well, let's try and fix it without the surgery. So went to Ryan.
Dr. Ryan, shout out.
God bless. Went to Dr. Ryan, went to Nick. We did a bunch of stuff, just body weight stuff, strengthening stuff around. And after 10 months, I called the surgeon, said, I don't need the surgery.
Yeah.
He's like, what? Crazy. He's like, what? I said, no. And I had a complex tear. I said, I fixed it. How'd you do that?
Yeah, he's like, okay, buddy.
Yeah, I told him. He said, no. He said, if you don't need it, I don't want to operate on you. Yeah. So things like that. So again, conscious of your body. Yeah. Like now, knowing Ryan now. So, I get a pain in the side of my knee. So now I roll my shoulder. Yeah. In the 5 different spots up here. And it fixes my knee.
Right? There you go. So you should be there, like, you should do their commercials for right?
I'm
Like,
always recommending.
well, I mean, I know this because Carrie's life has changed dramatically
Yeah.
from your recommendation
Yeah.
and going because of how much you would day-to-day struggles.
Yeah.
And I think we just think we have to just deal with it. We think, you know what? I should have to deal with this leg or knee or back or shoulder pain just as much as I should deal with this mental, emotional disruption that I'm experiencing.
Exactly.
I'm not saying I deserve it, but I'm just saying that guy has it worse.
But and that, going back to that, I think that's a good point. It's body and mind. So now I think I've got the tools, not all of them, I'm sure, but I've got some tools now to deal with the mind.
Yeah.
I've definitely got the tools to deal with the, the same as you. I wake up, oh my God, why I never had an ankle pain before. What's that? What is that? What is that?
Discovering muscles that I'm like, that exists in the leg?
What is that? But through Nick and through Ryan, through these people, they encourage you to, okay, well, you know what you're feeling, you know what it is, like, do this, do that, change that, do this. And I think that, so now, body and mind, they're hopefully more in sync. Whatever resources you've got available, you can deal with it to make sure that the knee stops hurting after 2 days because I've rolled the shoulder. Right. Or you start rolling this, or you start doing that, or okay, I've got to go and get cracked now because I need something, or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting too, right? Like, okay, it's the knee, but now I got to roll the shoulder or something. Like, sometimes even just like that, it's not connected. But sometimes when we even focus in on the major issue, like the knee, and we're like, how do I fix this? How do I fix it? We miss the other little subtle signs that are, signs, right? Like my hip or this, or because I'm now shifting in a way to make up for that pain because I should just deal with it. You're
overcompensating with something else. Like they say, it's usually like 3 stages removed from the location.
Right.
So I was finding I was getting a lot of knee pain from driving. Yeah. Because I was tipping in the truck. So basically you're leaning like this. So
like gangster style.
So you lean on the side, but then that throws everything off. So then it's your knee. But actually, if you fix this, you'll fix the problem. So going back to the mental side, okay, so yes, it's the life changing is here. But if I fix these 3 things before that, you fix the problem.
Right.
It's not the source.
And maybe not always fix, because sometimes I think that word too can feel like it's as simple as, do this to fix it. Because like, I also hear you at the same time saying by fixing, what you mean is you're recognizing where the issue is coming from. And now you're paying attention to that and tending to that. So it's a day-to-day fix. You creating that's one of the things like you're saying is you create that space in your day that you don't have to go from one to the other, to the other, to the other. And you're refueling yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I think it's wild. I don't know, maybe I don't want to say in a way of, don't you think this, but I think it's wild that we can sit here and talk about that. And like you said, it's the simplest stuff. Yet when we tell each other or friends or family, or we have podcasts and stuff, we get, that stigma thrown back at us in the way of, that's not true. Yeah. Your problems aren't like my problems, or it's simple for you, or because you can do it. And I think that's just it, right? Like, we all have to start to look within, and absolutely. We force ourselves to always look out. You're doing this, you're not doing that. But if we can start to look within, it's interesting to hear you say, which is what you have been doing, is what do I need? Not what do I think I have to give to my loved ones?
Because the rest will come.
It will.
Because that and
if it doesn't, is that the end of the world?
Because you're never going to change it. Your personality is not going to change. Is that you're the way?
Trust me, I tried, man.
Yeah, I know. Gemini.
Yeah.
Just switch to the other one. That's what I do.
Dr. Jekyll and the other Hyde one. Yeah, that's what it comes out to.
So you're not going to change that, but if you can change yourself a little bit to make it easier to still do what you want to do and still please people and still, but without detracting from yourself.
Yeah. What do you okay, we're talking a little bit about your experience. How's your mindset shifted in general when you look at your little club you're in, the men's mental health club? So when you look at that and you're part of that group, what do you feel like that experience you went through helps you bring to that group and to your community of men?
I tell people my story. This is what happened to me. Yeah. People, I don't know what people's perception of me is, whatever their perception is, but they probably wouldn't have expected that from me or for me to say that.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe. So I think that's important that I can share that and say, we had a friend of mine and I talked to Kerry about it and you a while back that was going through some real challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And I, tried to put him in touch with some people and because he needed that. I'm different, I'm not particularly a therapy person.
Yeah.
I'm again, deal with it myself.
Yeah.
But he needed that.
Yeah.
So we talked about it and I told him my whole story.
Yeah.
I took him out, I sat him down, he's in tears about stuff. And I was genuinely worried. He was genuinely talking about
and killing himself.
So I'm like, right, okay. So we got that and he's right now, he's in a good place. He's seeing a therapist every week.
Good.
He's doing way better.
Good.
Like really well.
Good.
So yeah, but just share. I think just sharing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, mate, you're not alone. Like, this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
This is what I did.
Yeah.
This is how I felt.
Yeah.
It's dark right now, absolutely. Yeah. But what do you need to do to get out of that dark place? Because suicide's not the answer. We're not going down that route. So what's the next thing? So and like I say, he's doing great. So I think it's just, if we can open up, talk more, be like that.
What do you think is a good follow-up thing to say when you talk to a buddy and say, how you doing, man? Or mate. How you doing, mate? Bruv, as I've learned. Bruv. How you doing, bruv?
Yeah.
And bruv says, I'm good. And you're like, okay, good. Like, do you think that there could be a follow-up to that?
Definitely.
Especially if you don't think your mate is doing well?
And that comes to your personal perception as well, isn't it? So that's what I did with this guy. Because I said, okay, what are you doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, come. And then he sits with you.
Yeah.
You have a conversation, and there's tears streaming down his face.
Yeah.
You're not good.
Yeah.
Give me a hug.
Yeah.
Let's
yes.
get this.
Yeah.
You're not. So I think it's just follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you feel that there's a potential.
Yeah.
Then there's no harm going and grab a coffee, is there?
Well, and what if you're wrong? Like, sometimes people won't reach out because they're like, well, I don't know. Like, let's say, I bump into you and something tells me maybe you're not well. And then I get in my own head because I'm like, well, I'm not well. Who am I to think, you're not? And what if I offend you? And
so what?
It's like, so what, right?
So what? No harm, no foul.
Right?
Who
like,
cares?
what if you're wrong? Isn't that better?
Who cares? What if you offend me?
Yeah.
No problem.
And is it offending if someone's saying, I care about you?
Exactly.
Like, get mad at me for caring? I think sometimes you have to look at it as, okay, so you're on the beach.
Yep.
And you see someone in the water and they're drowning. What are you going to do? You're going to
jump in and grab them out.
You're going to try to do that, or you're going to call someone to do it because you're like, I can't swim and I see a shark. You're going to do something, right? You're not going to say, well, the buddy's drowning. He'll figure it out.
He'll be okay, yeah.
Right? So then what will it take, do you think, for the rest of us to look at that scenario and think, instead of the water, it's like they're mentally drowning.
Yeah.
Instead of someone's physically drowning in the water, they're mentally drowning. What do you think it would take for someone to not just pass by, but to say, let me throw something at you or come save you?
Well, again, that's down to the individual, isn't it? That's your personality, your perception, my perception. Like, I'm going to go to my mates and say, you okay? No, I'm not. Oh, yes, I am. Bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'll call them out. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, no, honestly, just leave me alone. I'm fine. Look, and I'd say that, you can't get mad at someone for saying, look, I'm only saying it because I care about you.
Totally.
So you can't get mad at someone for that.
Yeah.
And then, eventually you've just got to be pecking away at them until they admit it or not. If not, great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And do you find that the only way, or one of the ways that you can do that for your friend, is caring for yourself first?
Absolutely. I think absolutely. It's got to be having, this last year or so of internal reflection, then absolutely, yeah.
What did you learn about yourself from the last year of your life-changing event that you didn't know about yourself before?
Got a brain tumor.
Okay. God, here we go. Here's the joke.
Sorry. Yeah.
As we all laugh.
Just the fact that I like the fact now that I am able to take that step back and take that time when I need to.
Yeah.
Whereas before I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because whether it was too much going on or again, cliches, but life's too short. There's the kids, there's there's the wife, there's all these things that you want to continue, you want to see grow, you want to see, achieve stuff that they want to achieve. And you can't do that if you're 6 foot under. So
yeah, that's true. You can't. I mean, you could try to haunt them after, but
yeah, there's that.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's possible. I'd be scared of my own ghost. Like, I wouldn't be able to haunt anyone. I'd be like, oh, I'm scary. But you say that very well. And I think that's been the consistent theme throughout this thing is when we don't care for ourselves, we can't care for others. And it can get really bad if we don't care for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the way it goes. You don't cut your hair, it's going to grow. Yeah. That can look great. You don't shower, things are going to happen. There's all these sorts of things day to day that we know if we don't do, and it's our choice. I don't have to shower if I don't want to. Yeah. That's fine. And maybe that's not the best way to say, how to take care of yourself. We'll come back. I'll find a better analogy than that one.
I had an interesting conversation on, it was Wednesday. So I was in a meeting in a restaurant, and I shouldn't have been listening, but I was, because I do that. So I'm sitting at the table, and the table is next to us is right there, the two guys, and they're right there. You can't not hear it. I'm sitting within.
It's not your fault. 3 feet.
Not my fault. No. Yeah. And when the guy's gone, and I got nothing else to do, I'm listening. So these guys are talking. They come in, big, butch, tattooed Canadian guys. They hug each other. Yeah. They sit down, and they have this mental health conversation.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
Like they are. The one guy's talking about his therapist. And he's like, I don't really like the therapist that I'm dealing with. So, but I know I need it. So I'm just switching therapists.
Yes. Good job, buddy.
It's like, so I'm changing this, I'm changing that. Yeah. And I'm doing this. And I don't really like this one, but I'm still seeing him or her. And, but I think I'm going to try this other one.
Yeah.
So finding the right fit for you. So I just thought, how cool that these guys are sitting in the Cactus Club, having this conversation. And the guy said, so, what do you think about this? What do you think about? And he said, doesn't matter what you do, you need to talk to somebody. Yeah. So it doesn't matter who it is. Well, I don't care if you like them or not. Yeah. Go see somebody, and then that doesn't have to be the the final person that you deal with.
Exactly.
So I just and I only listened to him for literally 2 minutes. Yeah. I snip it while the guy was in the bathroom that I'm dealing with, literally, and I'm just like, this is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was when and then you called me 2 days later. Yeah. So when you called me 2 days later, and you're like, I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it now.
Look at that. Hey, how things work out.
That was just on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I thought, so that's good. So, it goes to show that the people out there
it's happening.
Definitely talking.
Yeah.
Definitely dealing with stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, because how many times do we do this? We meet up, we sit down, and we fill the space with that meme, that show, that thing, gossip about this thing, all those things, vent about this, which can be important and needed as well. However, we're missing the piece about this connection and look at how much you can get out of having a one-to-one about, okay, yeah, I do need therapy. And I'm really glad you brought that up too, because often people won't go back because they didn't have a good connection. And 80% of therapy is connection.
Absolutely.
with your therapist. You're more inclined to make changes or come back because you feel that heard by this person. Yeah. And no therapist, I've had many therapists come on and say, no one is offended. Our ego is not big. If you never come back, just make sure you're not coming back for the right reason. Yeah. Talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Exactly. And you had mentioned before too, like about your friend, therapy is not for you. And I think there's so many different kinds of therapy. We're only talking about talk therapy.
Yeah,
right. You see this strength specialist that works with your body, your mind, clearly knows you well enough to say, dude, where are you at? And you feel comfortable enough to say, these are things that are going on for me.
He's my therapist.
Totally. 100%. Right. That's just it.
And I get to see him twice a week, and it's for definite.
Yeah. And when there's that mobility and you're moving, there is definitely something to be said about mentally being able to move and talk about the things as well. And some people sitting in a room is not going to be for them. Yeah. However, good news, so that's one of billions of different kinds of ways to get therapy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So I think when we say, oh, that's not for me, I think that's fair. But then the thing we might have to do is figure out what is for me. Yeah. Because we know what's not. Like we said this to our son this morning. I don't want that cereal, that cereal, that cereal. And so we're like, okay, well, sounds like you know what you don't want. Yeah. We got that clear. Let's start figuring out what you do want. What are your options? Yeah. Because we're quick to to get into the, well, I don't know what it is and what is it that I want or not. So I'm curious, I want to hear from you, and maybe you've even thought about this as you've been doing a lot of reflecting. It's very clear that you've been doing that. What do you think men are most afraid of? Like, what are you most afraid of when it comes to, or when it came to opening up or talking? What do you think? I know you had mentioned earlier, like you have had it a little bit easier to be open, but I think there's being open and then there's sharing, I'm not well, being vulnerable about, I'm in a hard place. I lost my job, or I feel like I have imposter syndrome. I feel like I'm the worst husband. All these things that go through our head before we fall asleep at night. What do you think is a like main motivating fear that gets in the way for people to be okay to just say, I feel like I'm a terrible person, or I'm having a hard time?
Yeah, I mean, I think from, I can only talk for myself on that, like saying that once there's an issue, I'm pretty open with talking about it and dealing with it.
Yeah.
So I'm not that close, but I think a lot of guys especially don't want to, won't have that conversation because of that whole historical masculine, it's a weakness. Mm-hmm. When I don't, it's not, it's a strength to be able to come out and say it.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are, you look at, I go back to you look at English people and, tough working class guys that, again, were raised a certain way, and the stiff upper lip always comes back to that.
Yeah.
It's just get on with it. We're good. Carry on.
It was a survival tool, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I think people have, it's easy to say, but people have got to be way more vocal and way more able just to, and don't, who gives a fuck what someone thinks about you? Because if that's the point, and especially if it's a friend, because if it's a friend that thinks that poorly of you, then they're not a friend.
No.
So I think, my sort of circle, small nucleus of friends, whatever it is, they're all pretty open and able to, and you can say stuff to them and they can say stuff to you.
Yeah.
And it's, okay, I got your back.
Yeah.
We'll get through it together. What you need.
Yeah.
You good? So I think that's, I'm lucky in that aspect that I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
But not everybody has that.
No.
And I don't know how to get that across to somebody else, maybe that
I think you're doing it.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Like you said to your wife when you guys were on holidays, what do we do? And you said, we're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it.
And that's what you're doing now, right? Like you didn't have to come on and share this today. You didn't have to be really curious and listen into those two dudes talking and think, holy crap, that's really cool. And see that from that place.
I've just been nosy.
Yeah, with Geminis. That's just our trait, right? Yeah. Are you the oldest in your house, or are you an only child, right?
No, I've got a brother.
Are you the oldest?
I'm the youngest.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he's older. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do caretaking though, or was he the older one?
No, he's 4.5 years older than me. So he was.
But did you ever act like the older one?
Yeah.
Because you don't seem like the younger one.
No, yeah. His friends were my friends as well. Like I played up in sports and stuff. So I was generally
see that. Yeah.
Most of my friends back home are all older.
Yeah.
So I think was up a few years, I think, on that.
Yeah, I see that because I'm like, you don't. It's funny, even as adults, we carry where we are in that hierarchy in the household with us. It's like, it's when we were kids, you're the youngest and your older one takes care of you. But it's funny, as adults, we still carry some of that. I'm the oldest, so I think I'm the boss of everyone. Yeah. That's sort of how that works. And
I'm the youngest and I think I'm the boss.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's what I thought. I was like, there's no way you're the youngest, because that's not the impression that I got from you from knowing you. So, okay, so I wanted to do some, how do you start a conversation? So we're talking a little bit about, okay, I'd asked you a few minutes ago about what is a way to go back and do a double check when we say, how are you, mate? And I'm good. Okay, great. It's like, are you though? What is that really about? And you talked about an example of prying a little bit with a friend, and it's not prying if you care about each other. And you're wrong. Who cares? At least you were able to make sure that, to the best you can, because I also think we're all responsible for ourselves. Yeah. We can't stop each other or make each other start doing something. We can only hope that we can influence each other and check in with each other.
Absolutely.
So, there's this thing about how do you start a conversation with a man's mental health? And so that whole I'm fine, I'm good, scenario. And so I read this little article, and what's really interesting is you've kind of listed every little thing in this article, because it talks about how to talk to men in your life about real stuff. And you so far today have covered making an observation. So you shared with your friend an example, noticing he was off, but also even within yourself, making an observation of something's different, something's happening here. Sharing your experience. So how do we get more people willing to talk? Well, we got to have people willing to talk.
Exactly.
That's the only way we can do it. And not everyone is going to be ready to be the first to do it. Somebody has to do that.
Yeah.
And it takes folks like you wanting to come on and to say, look, shit happens. Shit happened to me too. And it was really bad. It was dark. I thought I was going to die. And I'm sitting here today talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with it, but my life is not bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Life's actually better.
Exactly.
I'm actually doing better.
Way better. Yeah.
You
absolutely.
know? Yeah. And so the other is walk and talk. So it's funny because it's like legit what you read, walk and talk. So again, that mobility and that movement, but also it's about the connection of body and mind as well. And so are there ways that we can meet up with each other that don't always involve going and drinking, or can we do something that's active? Can we go in our backyards even, but being close to nature and being able to be in a space to be able to talk is a little more, people are saying they feel a little more open than when we are at the bar and it's loud and it's not the place to say, hey, I have a tumor. Yeah. Like it might feel weird to come out there or whatever and say it, you know? So I think you kind of covered a lot of those. And then the other was acknowledge difficult situations. So we're not always talking to each other about all the best things happening in our life. Yeah. But that we really were worried for a minute before we had that really important thing happen to us, you know,
absolutely.
or we struggled or we made a mistake. Yeah. I think sometimes we don't tell each other those things. And then the last one was, and you covered it too, was ask twice. Yeah. So when you're not good, are you though, kind of a thing. So I think, isn't that interesting? Sometimes we think that we don't have anything to offer or contribute. And I've come across a few people in the last little bit that I'm like, I really think you'd be a great guest to have on. And it's like, I don't know.
But it's funny because Kerry said the same thing. You know, I said, would you do that? I said, I'm not sure what I got to offer, mate, but I mean, I will. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, you could have wrote a book on this because you talked it, you know, so it's your own experience. And that's the thing. We look to stats, we look to books, we look to education, and we miss the piece about life experience, which I think has the best knowledge dropping out there. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Well, is there anything at this point that you wish we had talked about that we didn't?
I think, you know what? I think we've covered everything and more.
Yeah.
I got some Ted Lasso in there.
We talked about Ted Lasso.
We got football. We got VAR.
Yeah, VAR. Man, so I learned about that. Yeah, take it upstairs.
Got the mental health issues that that was a productive.
That was a really good talk. So I'm going to ask, I do a call to action at the end, and I always ask the guests to share something that you wish to leave with our listeners, something that you hope people can go do or think about, particularly in the area of men's mental health. I
think it's back to the very basics that we've talked about. It's look internally, look for the small stuff, because the small stuff's going to be the big stuff if you don't take care of it. So I think it's yourself, you know, again, cliches today, but yourself first. Mm-hmm. If you deal with the small stuff, and then hopefully you don't get to a really dark place. Yeah. So have those tools at in your arsenal that you're able to deal with. And if you call your best friend that might not have ever talked about this before, but if you've got that issue, call him. He'll talk to you. Yeah. If he's a friend, he's going to talk to you.
That's a lovely call to action. Call your best friend and talk about something real. Yeah. Tell them something that has been on your mind that you would have never told them. Yeah. And see what happens.
See what happens, yeah.
See what they do. You'll find out how much of a best friend they are.
I bet it surprises you. I bet the answer surprises you.
Totally.
You talk about hockey, that's all you talk about. Well, talk about something real and see what comes back.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And send us feedback, because I think you'd love to hear from people about how that went.
Absolutely.
And we can keep this conversation going, because we always say these are door openers. We're just opening a door, hoping for an opportunity. And if folks that are listening want to add to this conversation and keep it going, reach out. You know where to find us. But more importantly, keep that conversation going in your home, in your world, with the people that you love dearly. And apart from that, man, I want to thank you again for coming on and doing this. And I hope that you'll come back.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't, maybe we can end with this actually. I didn't get to do this because I was going to ask you earlier. So when I reached out to you and asked you if you do this and you were, like I said, amazing. Yes, let's do it. It was great. And then I was giving you the spiel that I do with my guests about the podcast and like go on Instagram, check it out. Or if you want to get a sense of what we talk about so that you're informed. I always want my guests to make an informed decision. Go check out an episode or something. Yep. And you were like, I've already listened to some of these, Kieran. I was like,
did I say it like that? You sure?
It wasn't necessarily like that, but it came out. I was like,
I don't think I said it.
Oh yeah, good job, Gemini. You don't have attitude. But I was like really taken back because we only have so much time in the day, and people can only put so many things in that time in the day. Yeah. And so for you to take the time and listen to some of these, that means a lot. And, now you're on and sharing, and somebody gets to listen to your story and maybe connect.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say thank you for that. So thanks again, man.
No problem.